So if you don't know me, my name is Mark Cashman. I'm a principal Microsoft 365 consultant, Microsoft MVP. I work at Praxis Consulting, and you can find me out on LinkedIn, and I got a blog that I put out on Substack called The Cashbox. And this technically is my card in Microsoft Lists. Who is Mark? Now you know. But what we're really here to learn is a little bit more about Microsoft Lists in the context of using it as an application within SharePoint. And you can use it obviously just by itself. That's where I'm going to start. I've got a list here where I have a number of items. It's very oriented around marketing. This is a real marketing list that is used within our company. And this is something that I help manage with a few other people. We're a pretty small company, but it still helps to keep us on track. So we've got a lot of marketing activities throughout the year, and we align with different parts of the year based on some things that Microsoft is doing, a lot of the things that the community is doing. And so we just use this to keep on track. So where you're at right now is in Microsoft Lists, and you're seeing the list in what's called a calendar view. And pretty helpful, we can see today, June 4th, we've got a 7 a.m. demo. Look at that, almost right on time. And I just want to show you a few things native in the list. There's the calendar view. There's the all items, which should be familiar to you. I've got some formatting on certain rows, like you can see if something's listed as a newsletter as the content type, it's purple. If it's an event, it's gray. These are sort of milestones that help us understand when are we doing certain activities. So within the list itself, it's functional, it's helpful, and it's just something that is organized and utilized by the team to be able to get things done. So you see here, these are all the items. And then you'll see that I've got a number of different views so that I can look at discrete elements and different content types. So if I wanted to go in and just see all of the events, I can pivot on the events. I've changed the look and feel, and it shows me all of the events from the beginning of tracking all the way through to the last one that we have listed for ECS 2027 in Dusseldorf. But if I wanted to see this in a different view, I could also program the list, and this just has one smart feature that says only from today looking forward based on the date column, which is this published by, show me anything that's then from today and into the future. So here you can see these are the things that we have programmed from now until forever. But again, just keep these views in mind because I'll be referencing them once we get into SharePoint, and why not only here in the list, but why did I use them to showcase in a different way on a various sets of SharePoint pages. So keep these in mind. These are views. I'm also going to come back here and we're going to talk about workflows. We're going to talk about forms, and we're going to talk about this column here. Keep that one in mind. When you see it, that means something isn't yet published and we want to take action. So these are what are called quick steps, and this is the quick steps column. So now you've seen it in the context of lists. Let us go and use this magic button in the upper right, which is Open in Site. So we're going to go from the list user interface to the actual team site. So this is a list within a team site. The team site is called Marketing, no surprise. And this is just the native view of the list in the Marketing home site, team site. So if I go to the home page, you'll see how I've started to use some of those views. Front and center is that calendar view. So in the marketing team on the home site, I use the list web part, and you can see it looks very similar to what I showed you within the native list view. But we're going to go even further because this is useful and helpful if somebody just lands here or I come here and want to add something or reference something. But it starts to get interesting when we start to expand on the left-hand side what I've built out here, which is just a navigation element to a bunch of different ways of viewing these marketing activities. So first is one of the things that we do, similar to this call, on a bi-weekly basis. We hold what's called Ask Some Praxis. And there's a lot of elements that are visual in Ask Some Praxis. So I've built out a page here that is useful for me and the team to be able to do a couple of things. We've got a built-in agent that helps us query what have we done in the past based on all of the transcripts. And there's a folder with all the transcripts, and we can query the agent. But we're here to talk about lists and pages. So the rest of the elements on this page are just quick links. These are real links that are useful and helpful to get back to or jump to. You'll see the visual nature. I'm using the gallery view within the list web part on the SharePoint page. And here is the latest episode that we had. And if I scroll down a little bit further, I can also add further context and really build this out as a unique little mini application for Ask Praxis, so you can see who we all are. But if anybody on the team ever needs the main graphics, if they want to reference which ones are upcoming, so just to highlight a few things that are upcoming, and you can also see and reference back. I adjust these links. If I click in and I show you, this is obviously the native view form, I can access that from wherever I'm at. And that's pretty straightforward. And you can see the information we're collecting. It's pretty straightforward, pretty minimal, but that's just one view. The next couple I'm just going to click through because you'll get the idea. I'm just putting the lists web part on the page. I'm configuring with a specific view. Here you can see I'm just using the events view, which is just mostly rows and grids. And I can scroll through and you can see all the lists and the events. And on down, I thought I'd add where we build out all of our PowerPoints and other material like social graphics per event. And I put that down here just so that from an events perspective, it puts the scope on events that we're supporting or events that we're interested in and making it so it's available. And I should add here for Tom, because I love communitydays.org, I'm going to add a quick link here later for communitydays.org because that makes sense to me. So this is what it is for newsletters. Again, no surprise, but I'm highlighting here the image column a little bit differently because we always have a hero image within our newsletter. And this one I can kind of do a little self gloating about, because when I joined the team, they were kind enough to put out a newsletter about Mark joining Praxis. And then, of course, throughout the year, we do about 3 or 4 main newsletters and some one-offs. But this is where people can go and actually get access to it. Where we actually build it is a tool called Kit. So we link out to Kit, and that becomes useful. The last one that I'm going to show you here, and then we're going to jump into Teams, is just that pivot on upcoming. This is just a page with the view that's showing upcoming. Now, when it comes to the team wanting to request support for new marketing activities, I've built out a form and I've actually added it as a link here within the team site. This opens up a page that opens up the list form. I can say add community days, and I'll do that later. I'm going to set this up as something that's going to be an event, and I'll put myself as the author, and you can see how this is. I'll give myself till tomorrow to update that and do it at the same exact time at the start of this call, 7 a.m. So I'm going to submit that. If I were another member on the team, they would have submitted this. I get the notification, and I get it in a couple different ways, and I'll show you that when we get into Teams. But it's a simple form. It's out there. It's just a link in the top navigation. I could put it as a button on the page. I can do whatever I want with it. But really, when we go into it and you go to the actual list itself, which we'll get back to here, I can go back into the lists UI, and I can start to see this is the form. There's the request marketing support. And this is if I want to go and make changes. I can set the end date. I can change the theme. I can do all of that. And in fact, for this one, I adjusted it so that it was available, but I won't take any further marketing support requests by June 12th. And I can set that however I want. So that's the forms. Those are the lists. Now let's see what it looks like in Teams. I'm here on a Teams team called Marketing, and I favorited the Marketing General channel. That's where we're at. And as you can see, this is at 7:28. I added a new item to our list because I sent it through the form. And I got a notification because the workflow that's built into lists natively now, called Workflows, is established so that when a new item is created, it'll post a new chat to this channel, off of which I can start to @mention my team. I can start taking action. I can view the item directly from here. It's very helpful for at least notification and awareness. So a little bit of automation. But I can also see that if I go into the calendar itself, this is now that same list natively in Teams, close to where I do a lot of my work in collaboration with my other colleagues. And I can see the same list in calendar view. I can see all items. I can go to events. I can go to upcoming. And it's very responsive and it's very native as far as a lists app in Teams. Very useful, very helpful. The other thing, if it worked, is when I created that new item within the list, I'll also get now a task that's associated to the list that's added here. And I'm going to go back to the list so you can at least see what that's doing on the back end. This is the new Workflows UI, and it's common between SharePoint in lists and libraries. It's also in Teams. And you can see here the lists that I've built out, the workflows that I've built out. is when a marketing calendar list items are modified, create a task in the community assigned to me, Mark Cashman. I've got another one that runs send an email. So if I went to my Outlook, I'd see that I got a new email. And this is what we saw, this new items in Teams chat. I'm going to open up this one just so you can see it. And it's kind of like Mad Libs filling in the how does this run. If you go into edit mode, you can see that this is actually giving me a sense of what list are we working on, the marketing calendar, what group are we working on, that's a group in Teams and SharePoint, Microsoft 365 group. When I select it, I start to get the options of what plans are available because it knows about Planner, and then I title it Get or Done. So if I were to modify an item on this list when this workflow is running, I would get a task assigned to me in that Planner plan. So pretty cool. This is using on the back end Power Automate, but it's simplifying the ability to build this out. So again, a simple application using lists and pages, and now it connects to Planner and Teams. That makes it a really nice extension for how it is that I work in here. So the last thing I want to show you is the difference between the all items view. If you notice this actions column, I'm going to scroll over just a little bit. And as I scroll down, you'll see there's a lot of blank. I reload this because sometimes this is a little sticky where it doesn't want to show me all items. But on the bottom half, you'll see here between this one and this one, those buttons appear or they disappear. And that's because I've built out quick steps, 2 of them, that have one condition. And on that condition is basically what happens. So if I go into the actions settings and I edit it, you'll see here, start a chat, we're done. I'm going to go into we're done so you can see, similar to the Mad Libs creation, show a command, that's the button, for each selected item that sets the value, and I've already set the value in status to published. So the quick step is called we're done, and the condition is only show this if the status is not published. So what that means when we close this out is if this status is not published, like you see here, ready to publish, and since build is already started, we can do that one first. I'm just going to click we're done. That's the quick step. I click it, and now it's published. Now, when I go into the next one, which is the end of my segment because my watch timer is choking me out here, we're going to click we're done. I'm going to tell David we're done, and you're going to watch this here, ready to publish. Whoop, too far. That ready to publish is going to change. We're going to go over here, click we're done. I'm going to scroll over and look at that. We're published. David, I'm out. And hopefully you've learned a little bit about lists in the context of pages. And for me, it's all about helping me manage marketing activities for Simpraxis.